I've seen a ton of people rush into cheap pre-built gaming rigs that look good on paper, only to end up with a system that stutters on launch and forces them back to the store for upgrades they didn't even know they needed. The regret that follows usually starts with a, "I thought I was getting a deal," and ends with a, "I wish I had spent a little more and done the research." That's why today I'm digging into the HOENGAGER ocean of Star's AI-optimized gaming PC to see if it actually feels like a smarter buy or just another glossy box. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing that makes most buyers pause is the fear of overpaying for a brand they've never heard before. HOENGAGER isn't a household name like Alienware or MSI, so the hesitation is real. Will the components be truly balanced, or am I just buying a pretty case with a mediocre internals? The Ocean of Stars tries to answer that by pairing an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D with an RTX 5070, 32GB of DDR56,000 memory, and a 1TB PCIe SSD, all wrapped in a white chassis with ARGB fans. Those are headline specs that sound impressive, but the real test is how they behave when you sit down for a night of Battlefield, stream your gameplay, or edit a video project. Let's start with gaming performance, because that's the core reason most people reach for a pre-built. The 7800X3D is built around AMD's 3D V-cache technology, which essentially adds a layer of extra cache on top of the CPU cores. In practice, that translates to higher frame rates in titles that are CPU-bound, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Red Dead Redemption 2. When I ran those games at 1440p on high settings, the system hovered around 100,115 frames per second, and that consistency held even when I cranked up the graphics to Ultra in Cyberpunk 2077. The RTX 5070's 12GB of GDDR6 memory isn't the absolute top tier, but it's more than enough for 1440p and can comfortably push into 4K territory at medium-high settings. The real win here is the combination. The CPU's cache advantage and the GPU's ray tracing cores give you a smoother experience without needing to tweak every single setting. If you're also a content creator, the 32GB of DDR5 running at 6000 MHz isn't just a bragging right. I did a quick test rendering a 10-minute 4K video in DaVinci Resolve, and the timeline didn't lag, even with multiple effects stacked. The 1TB PCIe SSD loaded the project in seconds and handled the export without the typical bottleneck you see on older SATA drives. For anyone who wants to game and edit on the same machine, that combination feels like a genuine value proposition rather than just a marketing hook. Now, let's talk about the cooling and power delivery. The Ocean of Stars ships with 3 ARGB fans that spin up to about 1,500 revolutions per minute under load. In a quiet room, they're barely audible, but when you push the CPU and GPU together in a marathon gaming session, you'll hear a low hum that some might find distracting. The fans keep the temps under 75°C for the CPU, which is respectable, but you won't get the ultra-silent operation you might expect from a custom water-cooled rig. The 850W PSU, however, is generous enough to handle future upgrades like a bigger GPU or adding more storage without worrying about power headroom. The trade-off is that the PSU is a standard unit, not a modular, high-efficiency, gold-rated model, so you may see a few extra watts of heat and a slight increase in electricity usage over time. Design-wise, the white chassis with ARGB lighting is eye-catching, especially if you already have a RGB-centric setup. The front panel has enough USB-A, USB-C, and HDMI ports for most users, and the internal layout is decent for a pre-built. There's room for an extra 2.5 drive and a couple of additional RAM sticks if you ever want to bump up to 64GB. The downside is that the case's airflow relies heavily on those 3 front fans. There's no top exhaust, which can cause warm air to linger when the system is under sustained load. If you're building a workstation that runs long simulations, that could be a factor. One hidden trade-off that's easy to miss is the software side. HOENGAGER pre-installs Windows 11 Home and a suite of OEM utilities that claim to help you optimize AI performance. In practice, the utilities add a small amount of startup latency and occupy a few megabytes of RAM, but they do let you toggle the AI-optimized game profiles with a single click. If you're a purist who prefers a clean Windows install, you'll probably want to wipe the drive and reinstall your own OS. which adds a step to the out-of-the-box promise. On the other hand, for a user who wants to start gaming immediately without fiddling with BIOS settings, that ready-to-house approach is a genuine convenience. So, who should actually consider the ocean of stars? If you're a gamer who wants high, stable frame rates at